created a poll yesterday for which show I should draw next in my style, and Hazbin Hotel fans really showed up. Thousands of you asked for this show, so let's do this. I went ahead and watched episode 1 today, and oh, spoilers ahead by the way. The characters so far are great, and the voice actress of Vaggie is Stephanie Beatriz, who is also the voice of Mirabel from Encanto, just an FYI, because that gets me excited about this whole series because I love her. But the only thing that kind of threw me off in this episode is that the angels looked kind of sinister in this show, which surprised me. I know that they're the bad guys in this, but I always loved the whole appearing like a good guy, but surprise, they're actually really freaking evil. But instead, it wasn't much of a surprise because this Adam Angel just screamed evil, even by the looks of him. Also, is Adam the Angel in reference to Adam the First Man? Like, is he supposed to be Adam the First Man, but in angel form? But maybe I'm wrong. Also, I'm absolutely in love with Alastor, by the way. But who's your favorite and who should I draw next? I got so many of you asking for Nifty, but a lot of you also commented that if I like Alastor so much, why don't I just draw him next? That made a ton of sense. So here's Alastor. He seems super mysterious and incredibly powerful and kind of creepy, especially when he sort of warned Vaggie when she was recording him in episode 1. I was going to start episode 2 today, but I realized I hadn't seen the pilot, and you all suggested I watch it since it's on YouTube. Big thanks, because it explained a lot. I also thought Alastor basically transporting Nifty to the hotel was fascinating, but it made me wonder where exactly she was chilling prior to being summoned. Also, as far as episode 1 goes, yes, I am dense, and definitely didn't realize the Adam Angel was indeed Adam despite all the references confirming that it was him. Like, I have ADHD and tend to multitask while watching TV, so I didn't quite catch it, plus I had a hard time accepting it because I just always thought human souls were separate and couldn't become angels. But I guess in the show, that's not how it works. But here's Alastor, and who's next? Nifty is Hazbin Hotel's maid, and when she first appeared in the pilot episode, I kinda almost thought that Alastor created her right then and there from the flames of that oven, but after a close rewatch, she more so arrives like a package in the furnace. I feel the show makes it kinda clear that Nifty seems to be Alastor's servant. I can't help but wonder how exactly Nifty landed herself in this sort of role. I assume through a deal, since we know that's kind of Alastor's thing, as he tried to make a deal with Charlie in the pilot. Regardless, Nifty is kind of the cutest thing in this whole show. Well, her and Fat Nuggets. And y'all were right, I'm absolutely in love with how adorable that pig is. But one thing I need to talk about is how amazingly blunt Nifty is. I mean, when she arrives, she is aghast by how filthy the hotel is and wastes no time in letting Charlie know. Then later when Sir Pentious and Charlie sing in episode 2, I gotta say that wasn't really my favorite song, but hearing Nifty say she straight up hated that song had me laughing because same Nifty. Same. But who's next? I just want a girlfriend who supports me as much as Vaggie supports Charlie. I was originally going to do Angel Dust, but I got a few comments saying that I should really wait until I reach episode 4 before drawing him. And y'all haven't steered me wrong yet, so sure. Today I watched episode 3 and decided Vaggie should be next. And I love how hot-tempered she is. But really, out of everyone at this hotel, she's also the most rational. I mentioned in my last video that thankfully Charlie's smarter than to make a deal with someone like Alastor. But honestly, I feel like it would have been far more accurate to say that Charlie is lucky as heck to have a girlfriend like Vaggie, because if it wasn't for Vaggie reminding Charlie to not make deals with an overlord like Alastor, well, who knows what sort of mess Charlie would have gotten herself into. I appreciate a character like Vaggie because her dedication to making sure Charlie doesn't screw this up is really awe-inspiring. So this is my take on Vaggie, and one thing I wish I'd gotten better was her skin tone. Tell me what you think, and who's next? I just watched episode 4 of Hazbin Hotel, which centers around angel dust, and let me just start off by saying, wow, that certainly was an episode. I'd say I have no words, but clearly I do, so here it goes. I was not prepared, and I don't think any amount of trigger warnings would have properly prepared me. That said, to those who haven't seen it, please mind the TV ratings. So how do I feel about this episode? I feel bad, man. I googled more of Angel Dust's life, and from what I read, not sure if it's all canon, but he seemed to live the life of an addict until his demise in his 20s to the very thing he's named after in the afterlife. And it's heartbreaking to know how he went from that life to then his soul living the way it is in the afterlife. Someone cut this dude a break. So here's my take on Angel. I kind of gave him a nose and just sort of made him humanish, mostly because I really wasn't sure how to approach his specific furry spider self without it looking kind of scary. I know some of y'all are probably gonna have some strong feelings about it, but it's okay, let me hear it, or in this case read it. But who should I draw next from Hazbin Hotel? I know you're all waiting for Lucifer, but I just feel like it'd be criminal to not draw Husk after drawing Angel Dust. I love how in the first few episodes we keep seeing these two just not getting along. Or, well, maybe not exactly that, because Angel makes it very obvious that he wants a piece of Husk, like every chance he gets. But I love how Husk just finds him so exhausting and isn't afraid to say so. I also like how Husk calls him out on his crap too. But this dynamic is changing and actually turning into a friendship, and I love it. Also, I did watch episode 5 today, and oh, the backstory of Alastor has me so hooked. When Husk revealed Alastor also being on a leash, and the way Alastor reacted, oof, I have to know what sort of deal this Alastor dude had to make and with who. And am I way off base here, or is Alastor being set up to be a big bad in the end? I don't know, I just found the whole competitive song between him and Lucifer to be interesting. Almost like Alastor wants to replace Lucifer, and not just as Charlie's dad, but also as the king of hell. But maybe I'm looking too much into that. So who's next? Is Lucifer from Hazbin Hotel a good dad? I really wanted to have this discussion because I've seen some pretty heated arguments on this. Some say no because where was he during Charlie's upbringing? Sure, he's the king of hell, but wasn't his child more important to him than hell? Others say he is a good dad because he's clearly there when Charlie needs him and is doing his best to show up. I think I'm a little mixed. I definitely can't help but wonder why he was absent in Charlie's youth, but at the same time, I'm fairly confident we don't have the full story yet because it feels like in episode 5 where Lucifer sings to Charlie the More Than Anything song, we see Charlie being carried away by Lilith. We know Lilith and Lucifer separated. So I think it's fair to assume that maybe Lilith reached a point where she wanted nothing to do with Lucifer and convinced him that putting distance between Charlie and him was best. Maybe Lucifer felt guilted into that? I know it's a lot of assumptions by me, but I'm sure I'll find out why at some point. The thing is, he's here now and he's ready to support Charlie no matter what. Also, are 3-piece suits with shoulder pads like the in fashion in hell? What an absolute bomb episode 6 was of Hazbin Hotel. And I mean that in the best of ways. Speaking of bombs, let's talk about Cherry Bomb. She was so freaking cool if I'm being honest. Her character design felt super haphazard, but again, I mean that in the best of ways. I really felt it was meant to be that way to highlight Cherry and her rad personality. That said, there were some things of course that were questionable and some strong ideas she had for having fun that I personally wouldn't find all that exciting, but this is hell. But even though Cherry Bomb was cool and all, there was one character that totally stole the show for me in this episode, and I know you're probably all thinking it's Sarah or Emily, and don't get me wrong, they were interesting, and that Vaggie reveal was insane. But y'all, as wild as this episode was, I really don't think any interaction can top Sir Pentious and his complete anxiety he had when faced with Cherry Bomb, especially at the club. I just really want to draw him. But you all keep saying to wait for episode 8, so I'm guessing that's his episode to shine? I just hope it's happier than Angel's, so I'll wait with Sir Pentious. I just want Carmilla to be my mom too. But also, how does she have kids in hell? I know the most obvious answer is that she probably adopted these two young sinners, which would be kind of wholesome, but I don't know, her kids look a lot like her and I just can't help but feel like they are her biological kids. Unless they were her human children who also died and went to hell and they were all reunited, which seems a lot more plausible, but I also have a theory that maybe that's not the case and her two kids are actually hellborn. But then if they're hellborn, what does that make Carmilla? Certainly not a sinner, since I'm assuming sinners can't procreate, because that would be interestingly messy. So Carmilla can only be one other thing, and that's a fallen angel, much like Lucifer. I mean, it's known that in the Bible, it wasn't just Lucifer that fell, but also several other angels with him. From her high-ranking position in hell and her bird-like appearance, which kind of reminds me of Vaggie, who I now know is a fallen angel, it just seems super likely Carmilla was once an angel too and had kids in hell just like Lucifer. Or maybe she's a hellborn too? Okay, but why isn't Carmilla agreeing with Velvet? Listen, I'm not a fan of Velvet, but I also can't disagree with her. I get Carmilla's fear, but I'm not sure what she's expecting. I mean, if exorcist angels came after her once, they're bound to go after her and her kids again and again. She can't realistically keep this secret and just be the only one to defend herself. If anything, she's bound to eventually become a prime target. I get she wants alternative options, but there's not much. And there's no proof yet that Charlie's plan works. So what's really the issue here? I know quite a few of you said from my last video that Carmilla couldn't have been a fallen angel, and there was a lot of great reasons you all gave, from overlords can only be sinners to if her kids were hellborn, they'd be exempt from the extermination. But I really can't help but feel like there could still be a possibility that she's a fallen angel, and she wants to avoid war not just for her kids, but also for heaven's sake. Someone mentioned she could be Sarah's sister, and honestly, probably. So regardless of who wins the war, Carmilla could still lose people she loves.